Hello, everyone. I am Jhoanna Ruiz, and today I'll share my experience about using novel for language acquisition in a language learning classroom. I will start by explaining my context. I am teaching Spanish as a foreign language in a middle school in United States. My classes are about 20-25 students from 12 to 14 years old. They take Spanish for the first time in this class for about 55 minutes every day. I have non speakers, heritage, and native speakers. And what I do the most is reading. It is known that different authors talk about benefits of reading, but traditionally, most of the young people and even adults reject reading. And that might be understandable since sometimes our teachers said, you have to read this novel, you have to summarize it, you have to find the main idea, you have to find supporting idea and the simile and the metaphor and so on. So they have the same situation here, plus reluctant students to learn a new language. That is why they have to create, to adapt, to find attractive resources or activities to have active participation, all of them. So, how do I teach a foreign language using novels? And I will talk about the three different stages. Pre-reading, so we have a book show, and I teach or pre-teach vocabulary and cultural topic about the novel. While reading, we have different activities that can be both playful and systematic, and this is to encourage students to active reading. And the post readings, where we have activities to apply student skills. Since I have semester classes and we start reading a novel 2 or 3 months later, because they need to have a foundation in Spanish, of course, from the very beginning in my class, I start building a reading culture using the free voluntary reading. As Stephen Krashen said, it is reading for fun. So we do a 5 minutes once a week. They have magazines, books, or newspapers, or a simple copy, but all in Spanish to evoke curiosity, to activate background knowledge, and they can choose their own material. So they read in Spanish for about 5 minutes, and I do the same with them, but I read in English. At the end of the 5 minutes, 5 or 7 minutes, I'm not going to ask for a book analysis, but we have a book talk where they can express their feelings or their emotions about the book. If they didn't like it, so they have the chance to change it for the next week. Then we start with the pre-reading. And we have a book show. And the book show is where I present your material to the students. I present the different novels that we have. Let me tell you that I have just one copy of each novel. So what I do is to make copy of them or to scan them and share with the students so they can read it sometimes in their computers. So I just talk about the author, the country, cultural and historical background. I use visuals, music. I change my voice. And for example, we were reading Tumba by Mira Canyon, and we were talking about the Dia de los Muertos in Mexico. And they had a lot of questions about this. Then we read El Capibara con Botas, so they had to explain that in some countries we call them chihuires. And they were so surprised when I said that in Venezuela we eat chihuire for Semana Santa. Also, El Silbón de Venezuela is a good one. And I was talking about Portuguese state, and I was doing all the whittle in the class. So after I present all the novels, we have a winner. It's a class decision, and we decide which is the novel that we're going to read. And this is very good so we can work with the student motivation. We can motivate them for reading. Then I pre-teach vocabulary. How do I do this? Well, I can do it by drawing. I'm not good at drawing, but I use this like stick figures. I can be a mime using all my body language. And the TPR, total physical response, which is awesome for teaching, especially actions. So they respond to different commands. I do this every chapter because every chapter we have new words. While we are reading, I have many activities. So I always read the first chapter, making pauses for discussions and asking personalized questions, all this in Spanish, to get connected students with the story. So I read aloud, I do all the drama voices, and sometimes with a student, we prefer the chapter or a situation in the classroom so they can get the meaning. Also, here I'm going to show you very quick different activities from different people, different Spanish teachers here in the United States. And I will share a Google Doc with all the links so you can read more about this later. For example, number one, Smash Doodle by Martina Bex. This is very good when the chapter is full of emotions. So I read aloud with stops and then they can summarize it after reading. So, for example, for native or heritage speaker, they can write and they can draw. For non-speaker, I ask them just drawing. Number two, Now What by Martina Bex. This is a prediction activity where I identify about 6 or 8 phrases from the test that can be predicted based on the contest. I copy them in pieces of paper and give it to the students. We clarify the meaning, and then I read the whole test and I make stop. So they check their papers to figure out which one is most likely to come next. Another example is number three, card discussions. We read a chapter or pages from the novel, and the students find on their desk some cards with sentence starts. I always give them sentence starters. Like, el evento que no me sorprendió fue, el tema en este capítulo fue, algo que no entendí en este capítulo fue. So they can give me the answer in Spanish or in English, but they need to read to get all the answers. Number four is Agarra Preguntas by Jason Frixe. In English is Grab and Go. We have small groups and they share the same chapter, the same copy. We're on the same page. So they write questions from the story in papers in Spanish and then they share the question with other teams. And at the end, I'm going to lead the discussion in target language in Spanish. So I'm going to read, they're going to read the questions and we're going to find the answers as a group. Number five and number six, I always do these activities in class. So map character o analizando el personaje. As they read, they complete their map character. I give them a copy like this, so they have to answer. Of course, they need to read to find all the answers. And sometimes they like to draw their characters. And number six is a personal response. And we do this every day. This is a daily discussion in class where I start asking, like, what did you read yesterday? What did you like about the chapter that we read yesterday? So just to activate all their knowledge. We do this for 4 or 5 weeks. We complete the novel, and then we have like 2 weeks for post-reading activities. And here I have just 2 examples. For example, we can do a Venn diagram where we talk about similarities and differences among characters, locations in the novel. Or we can do the Lucky Reading game by Senora Chase, where we work in small groups and they have a friend to represent the team in front of the class. I ask them questions in Spanish about the novel and they have to answer. They can speak or they can write. Okay? So they can do it in English or they can do it in Spanish, but I'm going to speak the whole class in Spanish. So if it is correct, they choose a card with different points value. And the team with more points is the winner. They really love all these games. Finally, I can assure that reading novels in a language classroom activate cultural knowledge, improve language acquisition, improve critical thinking, and unconsciously students are learning different grammar topics. Reading novels in my class involve a great of backwards planning on my part, but I have to ensure that my students find a connection with the book. And let me tell you, there is not a wrong way for your students to read a target language novel. If the test is interesting and the way you as a teacher present it to the class is interesting, their language skills will improve. Thank you so much. Hasta pronto. Bye.